and welcome to this edition of Get Booked. I'm back with Kate.
Hey, I'm really thrilled to be here.
We are still talking mysteries of our squares, and this week we are talking female sleuths. What do you got for us, Kate?
Well, first I have an oldie but a goodie, and if this is a series you're not familiar with, I really recommend it. It's like almost like going back to Agatha Christie and finding Miss Marple, but this is The Unexpected Mrs. Pollifax, the first in a series of 13 books about an intrepid woman in her 60s who naturally joins the CIA and lives a life of intrigue and adventure, all while maintaining her membership in the local garden club. These are delightful, charming books. They're just wonderful, and they're comfort reading for me. I discovered them as a teenager, and I still like to re-explore her world, and they're great books.
They sound fun.
Yeah.
Alright, my first one is a cozy, so you'll see the bookmark in it as cozy. It is also based, well, I should say, there is a Hallmark movie series based off of this book. This one's called High End Finish. It's also the first in the series. So, many bingo squares you can check off with this. It is by Kate Carlisle, and it's about a woman named Shannon who has a home repair. She's a contractor. She has a home repair business, and she's a contractor. And she goes on a blind date. The date goes terribly wrong. He's a real jerk. He's a little pansy. They have a very public disagreement. Oh no! And then he's dead. And of course she's the main suspect because, you know, they had a public fight. So she has to work through that. It's, you know, set in it's a cozy, so set in a small town. You see lots of friends, lots of family. This is the first in the series, so lots more books coming.
Is Colchester small enough to have its own cozy murder mystery series?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it could be.
Okay.
Any writers out there, start.
Yeah. Next, I'd really like to recommend this wonderful newer series by Sujata Massey, who's quite a prolific writer. She's this new series set in India in the 1920s. The heroine's name is Perving Mystery. Did you get that? Mystery. She is one of the very few female attorneys in all of India, and she has clients who come to her with problems and issues, and somehow she finds herself investigating what really happened. These are incredibly well crafted, very entertaining, and what I really love about them is that it takes you to a different time and a different place, and you see the world through different eyes, and these are just beautiful books.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Another historical, we didn't even plan this, so you see like the historical mystery there, is Murder at the Breakers. So set in Newport, you know, at the cottages in Newport.
Oh, those cottages. Bigger than this library.
Yes. So it's 1895, and our heroine is a second cousin to Cornelius Vanderbilt.
Oh.
But she's not one of, like, the rich Vanderbilt, so she's working a little bit in the society papers. She's creating some news for them. So she is on the guest list for a ball, which she's covering for the paper, and, of course, things don't go as planned, and Cornelius's financial secretary goes over a balcony and, you know, is it murder? Is it suicide? Did he get pushed? Who knows? We'll have to find out. So this is the start of a series as well.
Yep. I just wanted to hold up two books from this wonderful series by Rhys Bowen. The first book in the series is checked out here. It's called her Royal Spinous. But it's a wonderful story about Lady Victoria Georgiana Charlotte Eugenie, who is 34th in line to the throne of England. There are 14 books so far. The first one starts in 1932, and they go forward in time. And she is a poor relation who gets into all kinds of mischief and trouble and stumbles across murders all the time and resolves them. So these are just really fun books.
I really like them. I read them a lot. And I think the next one is set to come out in probably August.
Yeah.
And the thing I like about those is you have a lot of characters who are real. So, like, the Queen is in there a little bit, and some of her sons who do not get up to the best things are in there. So you see, like, some kind of historical figures, too.
That's great. I really love a good historical setting.
I do, too.
You've got it.
Alright, this next one is Abby Cooper's Psychic Eye. Abby is a psychic. She teams up a little bit with the police department, who don't quite believe the things that she's seeing. As that happens. But she does kind of help them do some mystery-solving murders. This is the first of a series by Victoria Laurie. It's super good. I really enjoy it.
And it's contemporary, right?
Yes, contemporary.
Is it very funny?
It's been a long time since I've read it, so I feel like there is some humor in them.
Okay.
This was one of my favorite series, and I have admit that you know how sometimes, like, you read them and then, like, you fall off the wayside and then, like, they pile up and you're like, oh, so much to go back to.
Yes.
So I really love this series, but that has happened for me. But it's super fun.
Great. So, this is one of the books in the Vera Stanhope series. Vera is a detective inspector, which is a very senior detective in British policing. And these are gritty, realistic stories. They've been turned into a TV series called Vera that you can see on PBS, or using your library card through Acorn TV. You can stream them. She has a lot of compassion and understanding for human frailties, but she is relentless in finding the answer to whodunit. Great series.
Nice. My next book always makes me hungry. It's Ellie Alexander's Meet Your Baker. So we talked about her a little bit in some of the past ones because she had a Brew series that was in mysteries as well. So we have both series now. Meet Your Baker it stars Jules. She has come home from a life on a cruise ship, and she is back in small town Oregon. Her family has this bakery called Tort. They live in a very Shakespeare town, and there's a lot of theater going on, so it's a very small town. And they have a lot of Shakespeare stuff in the cafe. So it's a lot of baking, there's recipes, there's murder.
I love books with recipes.
I know. And you always want to bake and eat when you are reading these, and they're just really great. I feel like the 14th book just came out this year, so ongoing series, very fun.
Great. This is Death of a Dishonorable Gentleman, which stars Lady Montfort and her housekeeper, Mrs. Jackson. And this fearless duo of women solve the murders that just happen to come their way. It's set in the early 20th century, before the First World War. It's very Downton Abbey with murder. And very enjoyable. I like that Lady Montfort hasn't necessarily questioned how society is set up, and Mrs. Jackson has always had her thoughts about why things are the way they are. And so Lady Montfort sort of, gets woke. And they are a great dynamic duo, and I really enjoy this series, and there are 4 so far. 1 is planned to come out in November of this year. So this is a great series to get into, especially if you love Downton Abbey.
Fun. My next is Flowerbed of State by Dorothy St. James. This takes place at the White House. She's obviously a gardener. I believe this is only a trilogy and all the books are out, so if you don't want, like a 14-book series, this is great too, because it's short and sweet. So Cassandra, her nickname is Casey. She's at the White House. She's really interested in organic gardening and, making sure everything in the White House looks fantastic and nice. But then there's a murder that happens, and she's attacked, and everything kind of comes together, and Secret Service is like, there's something happening here. So if you like books about the White House, there's this one. We also have, I've talked about before, State of the Onion, which is a series about the White House chef. So we have 2 White House mysteries, both cozy.
So if you like that White House DC thing.
Yeah, it's kind of not like West Wing exactly, because you don't get all the politics, but you get a little Secret Service because they investigate a little.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah. Okay. So So by now you know that I love historical fiction. So yet another historical mystery series, the Lady Emily series. This is the first one in the series and only to Deceive. And Lady Emily really wanted to get out of her parents' house, so she accepted her husband Philip's offer of marriage and got married, and then he went off on safari in Africa and he died. And then she gets into his papers and discovers that he was deeply in love with her. Yeah. And murder comes along, and a friend of hers named Colin Hargreaves comes along and joins her, and they solve many mysteries. There are 15 books, several novellas, short stories. So this is a world. They start out in the 1890s and come into the early 1900s. And lots of great history, great historical setting, and a lot of fun.
Nice. My last one is also, as you can see from our book tag, first in the series. It's The Diva Runs Out of Time by Krista Davis. Krista Davis is one of my go-to cozy authors. I really like her books. This one is set during, I want to say Thanksgiving. Yes. So, Sophie is a domestic diva. She has, she kind of has a business doing a lot of different things with, like, food and party planning and setting things up really nicely, catering and things like that.
She's a proto-Martha Stewart.
Yes, she is very Martha Stewart. And it's funny because she has a frenemy. It's kind of her nemesis, but her childhood frenemy. Natasha. And Natasha, so Sophie's kind of more like the Rachel Ray of the world, and Natasha is very Martha Stewart. She always, not really, but like, she's very set. This is how it should be. You can only have this. You can only have this. You have to be fancy. Like, so that Sophie's
she can't
very
relax,
cozy.
can she?
No, and Natasha does not. So it's Thanksgiving. They're creating their meal, and they all live in a small, cozy area, kind of near Washington, D.C. And of course, there's a murder. And is Thanksgiving ruined? This book also has recipes.
I was just going to ask you that.
It does. It does. And it's really funny because in the beginning of the chapters, not that chapter. So they have like a ask Natasha and ask Sophie. So you get like very different responses if you ask Natasha versus if you ask Sophie. So it's pretty fun. I like the it's good to have kind of like an arch nemesis where you're like,
it does.
Oh,
it does.
You hate her. Then sometimes you feel sorry for her and you're just like,
yeah.
I don't feel sorry for her.
Right. Okay. Well, these are some unfamiliar female sleuths for you. I hope you check some of them out and dive into some new series.
Yes, and start checking off your bingo squares, and we will see you next week for a new square. Bye.